Hey, it's Marthea Pitts, the MSW coach. So, how do you know if you are burned out? Burnout looks completely different in everyone, right? There is no like poster child example of burnout and what it looks like. It looks differently based on your socioeconomic status. It looks differently based on like your responsibilities in life. It looks different. And so the reason I want to talk about this thing today is because I just did a whole live. So I'm breathing and taking a break. But I was like, I need to bring this conversation on YouTube too. I would say every few months, I get to a point of extreme concern about not just social workers, helping professionals, right? Because I work with non-social workers too. So people who are in very public facing roles, right? People who maybe if you work in a call center, you're answering phones, maybe you work in HR and you're dealing with staff and their things, maybe you work in case management, maybe you're in the healthcare profession, right? And you're serving people in their most vulnerable moments, right? I get extremely concerned because I know personally that burnout, again, like I said, there's no like, if burnout always looks like this in person one, two, and three, it looks very differently. So I'm gonna tell you like how burnout looked for me. So I have been before becoming a macro social worker, I've always worked very high stress jobs where I was serving the public. So before I went back to school and got my AA degree and all of the other things, I worked in call centers in state government system. And so what that looked like is I, whew, it would be days where I would have to take 100 to, I think the highest I ever took call wise was 100 calls a day, maybe 110, give or take a day. Right. And when we talk about calls, when you work in a true call center, there's no breaks in between. These are one call after another, right? The only time you get a break from the phone is on your 2 15-minute breaks and then on your 30-minute lunch, right? Where I worked, you didn't get an hour lunch, you got a 30-minute lunch. And this was in an actual building, right? Because a lot of call center jobs now are remote. You can work from home and be a call center agent, right? So one of my call center jobs, and it was the one that made me just exit stage left of those types of jobs, was when I worked with the state agency here in my state and child support. I've never told this story out loud. It was a lot going on. I don't know why I'm going to tell y'all now, but I'm going to tell you. It was a lot going on in my personal life at that time. My brother had passed away. I was a full-time student, full-time. I think I was working on my bachelor's degree at that time. I went and got my AA degree, and then I went straight into my bachelor's degree program, straight in, no break, no nothing. I was taking classes one semester after another. Then I was working my extremely high stress job where it's 8 hours a day, constantly talking to people, not even just talking to them, literally being fussed out on a regular, because when you're dealing with child support matters, it's a very serious situation, right? It's a lot of emotions. It's more emotions between the two people that had a situation with each other, be it romantic or family, because the custodial and non-custodial parent, they don't have to have had romantic relationships. It could have been a grandmother and a son or something like that, right? But so it was a very contentious relationships from the parties involved. And so a lot of the times what I learned was that child support, when there's conflict, that there is never about the child. It's about a form of power and control. So there were lots and lots and lots of days. And I think I worked that job 3 years, maybe a little longer. I'll have to look at my resume. But lots and lots of conflict, turmoil, lots of phone calls where people are literally yelling at me day in and day out. Lots of instances where people are, because of course, when you were talking about now, of course, there's the relationship conflicts, but then there were times where people really were in dire situations and they needed their money. Of course, right? We need money to live unless you have a special setup where someone's taking care of you. So it was a lots of phone calls where people were calling concerned, crying, they were waiting on a payment to come and it didn't come and all of the things, right? There were even times where people had adult children and they still were collecting arrears on older cases, right? I've seen cases where it was before I was born, and they were still collecting. So there were lots of phone calls where people were calling and not being pleasant, upset and mean about the fact that their $1.35 paycheck didn't come. Oh, child support check didn't come, excuse me. So there were many days that last year of me in that job, there were many days where I was coming to work grieving, actively grieving because I couldn't take a break. Also, on top of that, I was a full-time parent, right? Full-time mother who's doing it myself, right? So I was actively grieving and still having to come to work and literally get yelled at every day on a regular, right? And I do everything that I do with excellence. So I'm still pleasant, Marthea. I'm still gonna help you. Actually, I'm gonna go over and beyond because I know that you need your money, right? So I'm gonna go over and beyond. I'm gonna email people that I don't have no business emailing and then have to deal with the backlash of that on the back end internally. Like I'm gonna do the things because I want you to get what you need. So that job was very, very stressful. So much so, and this is the point of this conversation, that I didn't even realize that I had changed drastically because of that job. Fast forward, I got to the point of no return. I was like, I can't take it no more. This is absolutely too much. And none of this really is any of my business. I shouldn't be in here battling about your business. That's your business, right? I got my own business to take care of. I got to figure out how I'm going to pay my own light bill. I can't worry about your business, right? I have a lot going on, and your business is taking up too much of mine. And so what I did was there was the final straw that broke, what's the saying, broke the camel's back, was something was going on at work. I also had a not so great supervisor. She never did anything to me personally, but she would on a regular mistreat my colleagues, right? This is before I even thought about becoming a social worker. But all of us deep down, especially people that serve other people publicly, it's because you care about people. So every day I would have to be like, okay, now you tiptoeing the line, be easy, pull up, don't treat people like that. I would have to be the advocate for the people on the team she was mistreating. So anyway, fast forward, I get to work. She was doing her thing. And I just want to say, right, bad never wins. I told my daughter that the other day. Evil never wins, because the irony of that was she was mean to people because of her title and because of the fact that she was well known in that department. She had left and come back and she was really good. She was like a stellar person. They had moved her to ranks. She was really mean because she thought she had a guaranteed job. After I left that job, not even shortly after I left, they got rid of her, right? So I just want to say, be kind to people, be gentle to people. Just because you have a little power and authority, don't mismanage that. Don't treat people mean. Don't do things that you ain't got no business doing, because ultimately what she was doing was unethical and it was discriminatory. But anyway, so I came in that day. It was a lot going on. I know I was in the last semester of my bachelor's degree program because I have an undergraduate degree in business administration, right? So we were getting ready to come up on the capstone for that program. So all of that on top of the fact I'm actively mourning my brother, which I never really even took time to mourn my brother. And I was like, you know what? I had enough. I've, I've had enough. I called my mother, which looking back, hindsight 2020, I didn't need to call my mom because I already had my decision made up and it's my life to live anyway. I'm the person that takes care of me. But back then I was a people pleaser. So I called my mother. I put myself on an unauthorized break on the phone and I walked outside and I had my cell phone and I said, Mom, I'm finna quit. I said, I'm getting ready to go. I said, I already looked at my money. I have what I need to get me a win. It will only take me XYZ number of days to move my money around, and I'm good for over a year, right? My mother was like, you sure it's gonna be easy to do whatever you need to do? Yeah, I already got it laid out. I have been planning it, right? In my mind, not on paper. So I walked back into the job. I typed up this is my official notice email. Before I hit send, I had my purse on my arm. Tip number 101. I don't keep stuff on my desk. You know how people bring like all like the pictures of their kids and their favorite pen and like their favorite pens and a cookie jar and a snack drawer. And it takes them months and months to like move all of that stuff out when they get ready to leave a job. Me, I'd never bring things. Because I know this is a business transaction. I don't bring things to my place of employment. All I have is my employer issued notepad. This is when I worked in an office. All I will have on my desk is my employer issued notepad. I have my personal pens, right? Pens that I take with me every single day, and like documents that I need to do my job, right? Which are theirs. They can keep those. They can keep the notes. They can keep the cheat sheets that I created. So I put my bag on my arm. I typed up my email and I was like, effective immediately. I am resigning. Have a wonderful day. I put my name. I printed out the email because I know I worked in state government long enough to know that you can't just send an email. You have to send a printed document with your signature. I printed out the email. Unauthorized, I'm sure, because again, I'm taking unauthorized breaks. I'm not on my 15-minute or my lunch. I walked to the printer in my section. I signed my name. I scanned it to the email and attached it. And the second sentence in that email was attached is my signed official letter of resignation. And then I typed my name. I didn't put a phone number. I didn't put an email address because I know HR stuff is handled in a completely different department. Plus, I wasn't moving. So I know how to get those people the information they need. I hit send. Matter of fact, I was thinking about that the other day. Did I hit send or did I hit like send after I left the building? No, I hit send because I don't even think that feature was available back then. If it was, I didn't know about it. I hit send and I walked straight out the building. I didn't tell anybody bye. I didn't talk to again because I treat my job like a business. I'm not friends with nobody. Right? I'm friendly, but we're not friends, right? It's only one job that I made friends, and that person is still my friend to this day. And for the longest time, I tried to avoid her, but she attached herself to me, and we are now joined at the hips. But typically, I don't make friends at work, right? I associate with people, but they're not like, okay, we're gonna be friends for a lifetime now. None of that. I walked straight out the building, went and got in my car, and I went home. That was the first job I ever quit like that. And I felt so much relief, right? So I tell you that story because then from there, I took a year and some change off. And that is when I made the discovery that I was burnt out, right? So, but burnout for me in that time was just it was a lot of things, but I'm not going to share it. But I just want to say, like, it was a breakdown, right? It was a complete breakdown. I was neglecting myself severely. Again, maybe another day and another time, but today is not the day for me to say that. But I was neglecting myself severely. My relationship was, it went from wonderful, this is great, to it went bad, fast and quick, right? But also at the same time, I'm still appearing high achieving, right? I'm making A's in school, straight A's, matter of fact. Hold on one second, y'all, okay? So I'm back. So I was still high achieving. I was still going to class every day. I was still engaging with my classmates. But when I got home from work, clearly there was a shift that I didn't even recognize, but my partner did, right? So I took a year and some change off. In that year, I prioritized myself. Like, I feel that I was forced to take that break because I was clearly going off of the rails, right? And so in that time, I took trips every weekend. I lost almost like 100 pounds. I was drinking water. I was sleeping. I was getting quality time with my daughter because I only had that one semester left of school. So essentially, I had like a year almost of freedom where I had to be nowhere. I was not committed to anything other than my child and myself. So it was wonderful. I wasn't in a relationship. It was wonderful. And that's when I realized, when I got to the other side of that career break, like, huh, again, I didn't call it burnout. I wasn't using those words. I was like, there was clearly something going on there, right? There was clearly a lot going on. And I was at the breaking point because, and I showed before and after pictures of me on my Instagram page of, if I was fancy enough, I will put them up here. How do you do that? I don't know, but I'm not doing it today. But yeah, I've showed before and after pictures like what I look like when I was working that call center job and what I looked like after my year and a half break, and it was complete light and day. I lost friends once I had got healed because they were used to me being the shell of myself, and then when I was blooming like sunshine, they couldn't handle it. But anyway, so I share that to say, and I was gonna get into like my first case management job, but I think that's enough for right now. But I really want to say, like, you have to be aware, and you have to create, when you do this type of work. And again, this isn't just for social workers. It could be a person that works in a call center. So if you know somebody that works in a call center, send them this video. Somebody that works with people, send them this video. It applies to them. You have to have some type of system in place for someone to tell you, because most likely, especially if you are high achieving, you will not recognize for yourself that something is going on there unless you've had a history of it in the past. See, I didn't ever have a history of it. So I didn't have a point of comparison like, oh, when I start doing that. Sorry, y'all. A mother's job is never done. Okay. But I don't even know where I was, but there was a clear shift, right? Oh, I was saying, like, I didn't have a point of comparison to say, oh, Marthea, you're doing that again. Be careful. I didn't have it. So I just want to say, like, you all have to be very careful when you do this type of work. And if you know that you maybe don't know all of the signs, I always say byproducts, if you don't know like the symptoms, the like what it may look like for a person like you, because again, it looks very differently, right? Because I couldn't like sit down because I had other responsibilities, other things that made me have to keep going. I want to say that you need to utilize your resources that are readily available to you to get assistance, right? And so maybe the first step is just ask a friend, a family member, or pay attention to what people are saying, right? So if people around you, used to gravitate to you because you were sunshine and rainbows, and now you realize a few years later, you look around, you don't have anyone around you, no friends, no nothing, or if they're saying, oh, you are completely different, or why are you so mean now? Those are things you need to pay attention to, right? Because on low key, on a slight level, my ex used to say that about me. It was again, I didn't see it, but I see it now. There was a shift in me. There was a change in me, right? Maybe you were always very friendly, bubbly, laughter, all of the things, and then now you're just like, You don't laugh, you don't do any of the things, you just stick to yourself. There may be something more going on there. So I really wanted to come on and talk about just be careful, make certain that you are putting yourself first, that you have some type of system in place to check in with yourself. If you don't have any of that, if you don't have a support system to tap into, any resources to utilize, then you should most definitely contact two people that I trust when it comes to these things. And I'm going to leave both of their information down in the description box, because they are the go-to preeminent experts on burnout recovery, advocating for yourself in the workplace, and all of the things. So I'll leave links to them. I'll tell you what each one of them covers. But what I like about their work is that they give tangible and practical strategies, right? It's not like those required workshops and trainings and CEU things that you have to go to, and they're talking in very what ifs, like it's all straight from academia land. These people give you real world tangible examples and strategies. I gotta go, y'all. I gotta see what my child in here doing, because she is choking me out with the smoke in the house. All right.